what's up, everybody? These are our sponsors. Thank you, everybody. Okay. Platinum Rule. I'm excited about this one. This is something I've known about forever, and I've gotten really into it the last, probably 6+ months or so. And it affects and should affect every communication that you have with everyone in your life. Clients, other agents on the other side of a transaction, your spouse, your children, everything at all. Anyone who has a developed personality, it's a great way to communicate with them. So understanding what the Platinum Rule is kind of builds off the Golden Rule. Everyone familiar with the Golden Rule? He who has the gold makes the rules. Is that what you? No, the Golden Rule, the real one, is treat others the way you want to be treated. Very great rule when it comes to values, ethics, kind of high level foundational relationship, the way to treat other people. It's a great filter in general. No one likes to be made fun of. No one likes to be yelled at, right? So I'm not going to do those things to other people. But in general, treating others the way you want to be treated can backfire sometimes when it comes to your daily communication, especially in sales. And that doesn't mean treat people bad, but how you communicate with them is not always how you want to be communicated with. So the Platinum Rule is treat others the way they want to be treated. So every single person communicates and receives communication differently than you do. Now, we've segmented it down into a couple of different styles, personality types. If you're familiar with the DISC personality assessment, that's what we're going to kind of be going through here. The book, the Platinum Rule is a book, and it overlays a lot with the DISC. So I'm going to be using some terminology from the DISC world and some terminology from the Platinum Rule world, but it's the same thing. So again, understanding the difference. The Golden Rule is treat others how you want to be treated. And again, that comes really well with ethics, values, kindness, those kinds of things. But when it comes to actually communicating information, you want to treat people how they want to be treated, not how you want to treat them. So it's about making sure that you can talk to people in a way that they can easily understand what you're saying, and manage people in a way that they want to, that you can create internal motivation so they want to follow you and want to be influenced by you. Because that's all we're doing as real estate agents. I can't make anyone do anything. I am simply trying to influence you to make the proper decision to buy a home, to sell a home, and guiding you through this process. So it's all about your influence over your client, okay? And if you've ever been in a transaction where you know the other agent has zero influence over their client and they're just rogue, they're just doing whatever they want with no repercussions or no understanding of consequences, you can tell that agent has no influence over their client. It's because some clients are just difficult, but they probably don't have that skill set to actually communicate and influence their clients' decisions. So, communication 101. It takes two to tango. I think that's the saying. Communication must be sent and communication must be received. Okay? Who said something to someone and it was not received in the way that you meant for it to be received, right? Has that happened? It has to be received. Otherwise, that's only sending communication is only one piece of it. It has to be received in the manner and with the context and intent which you intend. Make sense? Two pieces. I'm a big fan of Key and Peele. And maybe you've seen this skit, but this, yeah, okay. Gosh darn it, how do I get the sound?
Anytime you can work Key and Peele into a CD class, that's a win.
Yeah, best case scenario. Man, I messed everything up, didn't I? Yes.
Maybe not.
You guys. No, there we go. Gosh darn it. It's a really good skit. You're gonna really like it. It's worth it. Has anyone seen this one? It's really good. I don't know how to get my.
trying to reach out to you all day. Are we on for tonight? Jeez.
What? You can't catch me. You can't catch me. I'm Lance Moore. Touchdown, bitch. What? Pause. Shoot. Keegan's been texting me.
You guys hear that?
Sorry, dude. Missed your texts. I assumed we'd meet at the bar. Whatever. I don't care.
Sorry, dude, missed your texts. I assumed we'd meet at the bar. Whatever, I don't care. Whatever, I don't care? The is his problem? Do you even want to hang out?
Do you even want to hang out? Oh, that's considerate. Like I said, whatever.
Like I said, whatever? This guy. Jesus, you
Are priceless. Aww.
You're the one who's priceless? This...
All right, that's it. Really funny. But this is also why I tell all agents, do not text if you're actually trying to convey some content in the negotiation or in anything at all. A text is for notifications when you're doing a transaction. Inspections are Tuesday. Showing whatever. It's not for, hey, the sellers want this and they said this and the HVAC system is this and whatever. That is where that happens. That's where miscommunication happens. That's where you don't know what their mental state is, if they're frustrated, if they're happy, if they're excited, whatever, and all that depends on how they receive your information. So phone calls are always the way to do it, especially when you're talking to the other agent. Most agents nowadays are terrible at answering and having phone calls, and everyone just wants to text because we're all just so busy. When you're negotiating a transaction, you have to have verbal conversations with the other agent and with your client. You learn so much more when you can hear their voice, explain things, and listen to their explanation outside of texting. Have to have that conversation. So that's a soapbox. That's a different thing. But again, communication has to be sent and received, and so that's why we want to make sure that we are presenting information in a way that clients mainly, want to receive it. So you must be adaptable. I think everyone has their own personality too. You are the service provider. You are the salesperson. You are the one that needs to adapt to your clients. It would be unrealistic to say, hey, everyone who wants to work with me needs to be this personality type. You can do that. People do that, I'm sure. But you are the service provider. You are the one trying to sell more houses, make more money. It's going to be your job to actually adapt your communication style to the clients that you're working with. So, adaptability. Didn't know the server's already on. So adaptability is picking up on their needs plus adapting your behavior equals a successful communication. If you do not pick up on their needs, you're guessing what kind of personality and how they want to receive their information, and then you have a 25% chance maybe of guessing it correctly, communicating correctly, and have a smooth transaction, which means you have a 75% chance of miscommunicating something throughout the entire transaction. So picking it up is the first part, and the second part, we'll go over the second part of this training, is going to be adapting your behavior so you can have a successful communication. So people won't tell you how they want to communicate because a lot of times they don't know how they like to communicate. They just have been acting this way since they were teenagers, right? They don't know their own personalities. And so they won't tell you. You have to look for signals. So there's a couple different ways, a couple different things we identify so that we can categorize them in a certain signal or a certain style. So first is verbal. What words are they using? Very simple. What words are they using? Two is vocal. What tone and emphasis do they have? And then visual, body language, facial expressions. These are the things we're looking for, picking up on, so that we can identify how to communicate with them. So as we jump into it here in a second, you need to ask, it's real simple. There's two things you need to ask yourself when you're communicating, and then we'll break down inside those two things. But the two main things are, Is this person guarded or open with their information? And are they direct or indirect with their information? So the first one is, are they guarded or open? If you're familiar with the DISC, this is where we're really starting to get into the DISC stuff. So are they guarded or are they more open with information? Are they more shorter to the point or are they more long-winded with their information? How are they answering questions or relaying information to you? Short, guarded, open-ended, long-winded, open. The second thing is, how direct or indirect are they with their communication? Are they just direct to the point, or do they bring in emotion, feelings? Do they take the scenic route to get to where they're talking about, or do they just tell you exactly what they're thinking, regardless of your emotional or their emotional or just any facts, details? So, are they guarded or open, long-winded or short, or direct or indirect, emotional or fact-based? Make sense? If we can identify these, we can plot them in these quadrants and then communicate with them accordingly. So, based on your guardedness or your directness, most people are gonna fall in one of these 4 categories. So the first one, and this is the DISC. Has anyone not heard of DISC? Okay. Has anyone heard of it but doesn't really know how it works? Everyone?
This will change your life.
Everyone basically understands how it works. Okay, we're going to dive a little deeper into some of it. So, the first is a dominant behavior. This is someone who is decisive. They're a driver, results driven. They're a director. They like to kind of be in control, make decisions, no nonsense. Just tell me what I need to know so I can move on. Why are we even? This could have been an email, right? That's kind of their motto is, why are we here? What are we meeting? What do we need to do? Then there's influence, and this is going to be extroverts, talkative, social. Social butterflies, like to be invited places, like to go everywhere. Amy's raising her hand. And then there is the S is steadiness. These are people who are relators. They like to have deep relationships. They are empathetic. They are patient. They are more nurturing of a relationship. And then there is the conscientiousness. And these are like thinkers, analyzers. Think of like an engineer as someone who always normally falls into that, the C. They're prepared, analytical. They like to think things through. They want to move slowly. Do what? Type A, yeah. Attorneys, scientists, people in this hard sciences. They want data. A needs to equal B, and all these things. So, So the top is going to be people more result oriented, task oriented. Tell me the things, the information, the data, and we can move forward. Slow or fast, but I need information. Once I get task, I'm not here to make friends. We're here to make decisions. The people on the bottom half are more relational. I want to establish rapport first before I can trust you. I need to know that we can get along. The people on the right side are going to be faster moving with decisions, and then the people on the left side are going to be slower. So that's, again, we talk about guarded versus open, direct versus indirect. You can also say another piece of that is going to cause them to be more task oriented versus more relational driven, and faster versus slower. So understanding the cost of mismatching. I was just telling Jeff about this, whether it be managing someone or working with clients or living with someone, whatever it might be. I say here, real estate wise, every listing if you ever sat in a listing presentation and you didn't get it, or if you met a buyer once or twice or at an open house or whatever and you thought you had a great conversation but they ghost you and never call you again, most likely we were talking past each other. They were not hearing what I was saying and I was not hearing what they were saying. We just missed each other, wasn't a good fit. So what I like to do in general, I think we talked about this in one of our round tables. I saw someone post on social media, I can't remember, X, whatever it's called now, and it says something along, if you approach everything like it's a skill deficit for you, it's a much better mindset than just assuming things are too hard or you're not good enough or whatever it might be. It's just a deficit in a skill you have. And so if you take the ownership of being not having a great enough skill, then to fix is to get better, not to wish things were easier or not for people to treat you better or whatever it might be, right? And so if you assume all this is a skill deficit, and the reason you got ghosted is because you didn't know how to identify and communicate, or the reason you missed that listing is because you didn't present them with the right information or relate to them properly, that's a skill deficit, and that can be coached, that can be learned, you can get better. Everything in your life, whether you like to admit it or not, is a skill deficit. You've not prioritized that thing, and you're not as good as you want to be at that thing yet. And maybe it's because this other thing's more important, that's fine too. But if you approach everything like a skill deficit, then you can fix it. You can address it. So assume it's a skill deficit. And I always make fun of new agents too. A new agent will come in and say, I've got the craziest client. And the reality is your client's no crazier or less crazy than my client, every client I've ever had. I'm better at communicating and managing their expectations than you are. That's the reality. There are no sane clients. That's what we'll say. They're all crazy. You don't know how to manage and communicate with them. So this is a skill deficit. The more you can manage and set expectations and communicate, easier your job is. Jim Rohn has a great quote: "Don't wish things were easier, wish you were better." Everything gets easier when you're better. So approach everything in this way, but specifically your communication styles. So some of the costs of mismatching: if you're working with a director or a D, you're over explaining everything. Stop, I don't need all this information. Have you ever seen the TLDR, that comment on like posts, threads, like too long, didn't read? I'm not gonna read that. I'm not gonna read that novel. Like, tell me what I need to know. If you're working with a relator, you might be rushing them. They want to build rapport. I want,
The long story.
yeah, tell me exactly why. I need to know all this information. If you're working with a thinker, you might be hand waving a thinker, which is like, don't worry about that. Like, how old is the HVAC? Don't worry, HVAC's not important. But yeah, it is. To me, it is. I need to know the serial number, and I need to know all these things so I can go research it. So if you're hand waving off a thinker, or if you're cold facting a socializer, meaning I'm just getting straight into the comps and I'm not talking about how was your weekend, how was your vacation, how was your thing, then I'm not ready to talk details with you yet. I haven't even told you about my trip last month, So if you're not communicating properly, you're brushing over what they need to receive your communication, and everything's being missed and dropped or miscommunicated. So it's important. These are the reasons you're getting ghosted. These are the reasons you're not getting listing appointments, because we're missing the communication, whatever it might be. So we're going to understand each type, the DISC, a little bit about what drives them, what do they fear, ways to communicate, and then we'll talk about how to actually adapt to them. So again, the D, the director, this is the dominant. So core motivations is they want to win. They want control. They want to make decisions. They're high achieving normally. They want to move fast. So core fear is going to be losing, appearing weak, or moving too slow. The pace you need to communicate with them with is fast. We need to move, make decisions fast. They're okay being wrong if it means we can move forward. We'll fix it later. Priority is tasks, details over people. We don't need to be best friends for you to sell me a house. Just, open the doors, tell me the comps, write my offers, do these things, right? Communication, they're going to be blunt, decisive, quick. They're not mean. They're just, I don't care what you did last weekend. I don't care that your kid has a soccer game. That's great. I'm sorry. When can we see the home, right? They're not mean. Yeah.
I do want to say though, this is the smallest percentage of
Yeah.
people, and all the mean people you work with will most likely fall under this.
Yeah, but that's what's important. So like I coaching like FSBOs. If someone's like, I called a FSBO and the guy was like mean and said I can go show myself and blah blah blah. Guess what? They're like that to everybody, and no one else wants to follow up with them. You're the only one who's going to follow up with them. You will get that listing. So because everyone else is afraid and they think they're mean. They're not mean. That's just how they are. And everyone has primary. Some people are pretty even keeled. But you hit them on a bad day when their D was really coming out and they were busy, stressed, whatever, and you call them the next day, nicest person on the planet. So this is not a science, right? This is very much an ebb and a flow. So values out of an agent, I think this is important. They want competence, confidence, efficiency, someone who won't waste their time, right? If every time you get on a phone call with them, how was your weekend? How was your day? Oh my gosh, I did this, you did this. Oh, you think you're building a rapport, but you're annoying your D. You're making me be mean to you. Why do you make me treat you like this? So understand who you're communicating with. This is what they want in an agent. So when you're communicating with them, be matter of fact, be direct, and tell them what they need to know. The eyes, the influencers, the socializers. So again, they want recognition, approval. They want to have fun. It's an experience for them. They want to have fun and care. They care what other people think. So it's about making sure we get the right home and friends. I want to entertain. I want to do all these things. Some core fears are rejection, losing influence, status, that kind of thing. Pace. They want to be fast, but they want to be animated, gestures. They are excitable. Most eyes are excitable. They can be sold easier sometimes because they're excitable. But then sometimes there's that decision making where they can actually have, buyer remorse sometimes, right? So it's not like we can just force them into stuff, but they're excitable. You can use that excitement. You can sell them things. You can tell them stories to get them to get going because that's what they care. They want to have fun. They want it to be an experience. Their people. Their priority is going to be people over tasks. Their communication is going to be story driven, big picture. Values in an agent is they want enthusiasm, warmth, someone who makes the whole process enjoyable. It's an experience. They want to have fun. That's what we care about. So something like the pace, you might know if they're like this socializer, this influencer. If you walk into a kitchen and there's a tile and they tell you a 10-minute story about how their best friend house growing up had this exact same tile and it was crazy, I love it. It's like, just tell me you like the tile. Like we can look for more tile. But these are how you're going to identify this person as you're going through these things. Did you have a?
Oh, just a brief footnote too. This is the second largest group of people.
I wish I'd put proportions on here.
About 35-40%, something like that.
Yeah.
And the reason why they move fast is because they're quick to trust. So you can earn trust with eyes faster, but that's also like the noose around your neck too, because they're trusting you implicitly, and so they're the easiest to do wrong.
Yeah. Yeah, it's that trust is built by liking you really quickly, right? I like everyone. I want to have fun. If we can laugh together, we're friends right now already. Social butterflies, just bouncing around, talking to people, and making friends. The S, the steadiness, the relator. Again, these people are traditionally very passive. They're people pleasers. They want to build relationships. They want everyone to be happy. They fear conflict, and so they want consensus across. What's everyone else think? I want to make sure, what's safe. Yeah, steadiness. They want something steady. They want predictability. They want safe. And so, again, agents in a value are going to be patience, trustworthiness, consistency, and an agent who won't pressure them, right? It's your decision, and we're going to make this. I want you to feel comfortable. I want you to feel safe. And when they feel that safety and that comfort, they can make a decision. So it's important to understand how to communicate with them. It cannot be, if you've ever... Multiple offer situations always are like powder kegs, and it pushes people's personalities like to the forefront, right? So you always see fight or flight when it comes down to a multiple offer situation. You have a D, my wife and I were trying to buy a house and multiple offer, and I was like, screw that. And it was in the neighborhood I wanted. It was near a friend of mine. It was all these things, and we went really high above, and then someone else beat us out. But it's like, I'm not going to mess with this. This is so stupid. Get me the house. And then the S, you'd be like, I don't want it. That makes me so uncomfortable. I do not. Yeah, it's too much. We're paying too much. I don't want to do it. But you see the personalities come out in a stress situation, right? And so you can't pressure. If you got an S and you're like, hey, if we don't answer by 5 o'clock, we're not gonna get an opportunity. They're out. You've lost. They're not interested. And now they start to not trust you. With an S, you could hear, if you've heard the term commission breath, sometimes if you're forcing someone into a decision, you have commission breath. It's like you're just going to say and do anything to get a commission. Like, I need to be nurtured into this decision, and you cannot rush, force an S. And then, yeah, please
That's the
add on.
largest group. That's the largest group. Most people you're going to meet are going to be a combination of SI.
In sales, I feel like real estate has a lot more DIs and then as a field, and DSs, and S's. But I think the general, real estate agents are not a segment of the general public. We are very unique. And then you have your C's. So these are the thinkers, the analytic type. They want to see the data. They want to see the comps. They want to make sure we're making an informed decision based on data. They need details and data. Again, think engineers, accountants, attorneys, people that are very fact-driven. Are going to be. They care about accuracy, quality, being right. They fear making an uninformed decision. They fear 36 months down the road thinking, oh gosh, we should have offered $800 less, than our insurance premium would have been this and and that's their fear, is thinking I made a bad decision because I didn't have all the information. So again, values that they values they want an agent is experience, accuracy, documentation, an agent who respects the process. One thing it had down here, reads every page of a contract. You ever had a client that sent you an Excel spreadsheet of their own comps? That's this person. I've had a lot of those.
I'm also married to the C's.
A lot of transaction coordinators are C's. They love the information. Has to be everything. The hope, the details, the data, everything's got to be in order.
These are the phones of parties.
Exactly, right. So, getting into like rapid identification. How do we tell what someone is, what they skew towards mostly? So, learn to identify clients' primary style within just a few minutes. So, how they communicate. Again, what's the pace of their speech? Are they faster, slower? What's the volume, the energy? Are they high energy, high volume, low energy, low volume? The directness or indirectness. How much do I care about emotion? How much do I talk and care about emotion versus details or tasks? These things in a conversation are going to help you identify if they're DISC. And then the content. What are they actually talking about? Are they talking about results, money, control? Are they talking about people telling stories, laughing, yelling? Are they talking about family, about how it feels, what they care about, that kind of stuff, data, comps, whatever they're talking about, it's going to give you an indication. So a lot of the conversations we're having are going to be around real estate. So a lot of the content's going to be about, like, what are the next steps? What do we do? What happens if this? So a lot of people might seem like they're falling into the C range or even the D range because they're being short. They don't know what questions to ask maybe, so they're being shorter. So it's important to kind of understand the content behind the question. And so it's okay to ask clarifying questions. Answer a question with a question. So the answer is blah, blah, blah. Is that important to you? Blah, blah, blah. What makes you ask that? Blah, blah, blah. And then getting into what's really driving, what answer are they looking for? And you can read between the lines and figure out what the actual content behind their question or their comments are by asking questions. There's an old saying, if you're telling, you're not selling. If you've ever heard that, you need to be asking questions all the time. Whenever they ask you a question, answer it with a question. Yes, question. No, question. Here's the answer, blah, 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 question. So it's, if you're just selling, or if you're just sitting here talking about you, or talking about the house, or talking about the product, or whatever, you're not moving them down the path to buy something. You need to be asking questions. People want to buy, but they don't want to be sold, right? So they need to convince themselves this is what they want. And then what kind of questions are they asking? What's the price? What's the bottom line? What can we get it for? How low will they go? Right, that kind of stuff. Versus, who lives here? Tell me about the people. Are there a lot of families in this neighborhood? They want to know the socializer. How close are we to the nearest bar, restaurant, whatever it might be. And then, how's this process work? What's the price? What are the comps? Based on the questions we're asking that are priority to them, we can kind of see what's most important. So, to the untrained person, all these questions and conversations are reasonable and random in a real estate transaction. But if you can zoom out a little bit and understand the content behind the question, you can actually start to categorize them on that quadrant and then answer appropriately. So understand the intention, the content behind what conversations we're having. There's quite a bit, so I'm kind of going a little fast. So if you have, I know there's a lot of really smart people in here, so if you have comments, if you have questions, stop and ask. So an in-home read, I thought this was pretty interesting. So you go into a listing presentation. I think that's one of the working with a buyer. Buyers are excited. They want to see houses. You kind of have something they want, right? Access to a house. So you might not have a great fit, but you can still show a couple houses and build rapport slowly over time. If I'm interviewing realtors for a listing, you need to very quickly and accurately communicate with me. Otherwise, the next person will, especially if they meet someone who knows how to communicate properly with different types of people.
What are you?
What do you think?
D?
I'm DI. It's exactly.
Because I'm a 98 D, 99 I.
It's been a while since I looked at it. I'm above 70% D and above 50% I, and so I'm.
You know what I've noticed?
What?
Your personality can morph based on your situation. Because
Yeah,
I
always.
can go from an ID to a DI based on the quality of my conversations.
Yeah.
You can pretend to be a C too if you have to.
I can.
So that's what what's cool about the DISC assessment. We do like the full DISC assessment. It'll tell you what you are. It'll tell you what you think you are, and then it will tell you what you portray to be. Or it gives you different aspects because everyone's personality, it ebbs and flows with situations and stuff like that. But normally there are certain qualities that come to the forefront when it comes to decision making, when it comes to fear or risk, stuff like that. Certain things take dominance over others. But one of the greatest skills, and I didn't really even realize it was I've always felt like I was a bit of a chameleon where I could kind of talk to anyone about, not necessarily about anything, but I can communicate with people really well, regardless of what you're talking about, the energy you're giving, lack of, or in excess of. And I think that's what allows me when I was in sales to relate to and sell a multitude of different types of personalities and peoples and price ranges and everything. And as a broker, communicate and work with a multitude of different types of agents. I don't just attract one type of client or one type of agent. I don't push away any type of client or type of agent because I think, I'll talk about it here in a second, but I think it shows, what's the word? It shows that you care when you communicate with people how they want to be communicated with. It's a sign of respect to adjust myself so that you can, so that we can communicate better. And so I take it as a duty almost in the sales industry and as a leader and as a brokerage to make sure I'm communicating with people how they want. So when we sit down in listing presentations, I think this is the number one way you can lose or get a listing is just by simply communicating to them how they want to be communicated. What someone's looking for in a listing presentation is they want to know that they can trust you and that you know what you're doing. And that's it. You don't have to be an expert. You don't have to have a million sales under your belt. I just need to know that I'm going to feel comfortable with you selling my home. People with no deals get listings all the time. It is not about sale. It is not about experience. It is about how you connect and communicate with the client. That's it. It's 99% that. The C's want to know how many deals you've done, probably. So, so the D, again, if you walk into a D's house, sometimes you can help identify them. They've got awards on the wall. It's sparse and it's functional. Status symbols are visible. Expensive but unsentimental items, right? Like there's this autographed thing. Oh, you a big basketball fan? Not really. Just it was expensive and I wanted it, and so there's stuff like that, right? Trophies, whether it be for a sport or a head, right, on a wall, whatever it might be. Sometimes you can identify those. Trophy wife. There you go. So the eyes, they're going to be more social, right? Photos everywhere. They entertain. They love entertaining. The house is set up to entertain. They talk about entertaining. Warm clutter, functional clutter, right? More stuff to make you comfortable and at home. Lots of color, personality. S's, steadiness, relators. A lot of family photos. Family's going to be very prominent. Comfortable furniture, hanging out. I want everyone to hang out and talk. That's how we regenerate, rejuvenate and hang out and rest. Pets are visible. Nothing showy, basic stuff. And then your C's, the thinkers. It's going to be organized, clean, books, minimalist, systematic, clean stuff. Possibly a hobby room. I don't know. That seems like a stretch, but it's, you can kind of identify as you walk through homes. You can kind of identify what a personality is by how they keep their home. some discovery questions. So as you have conversations, as they ask questions, as you answer questions, you can kind of start to identify where they fall in the quadrants, but you can ask certain questions that will give you more pointed personality answers. So like, what would total success look like for you in this? You know, if you're talking with a listing or a seller, if you're talking with a buyer, what would it look like if we had 100% success in this transaction? And see what's most important, or what's your number one priority in this transaction? What do we want to look out for? What's most important to you? And these things will kind of lead you into what is most important. So a D is going to say, I want to sell fast for the most money. Or a D is going to say, I want the best deal. I want to rip some seller's head off. I have to get a deal. So you can kind of run through these. I also made this to be a little bit of a reference for agents later. So whenever we're done, we'll give you this. But you can kind of see, and then the other question is, how do you like to be kept in the loop during this transaction? And so I do this, I like people to define how they want to be communicated with. Some people want only text, some people want emails, some people want phone calls, whatever it might be. So I tell them, I found that different clients want to be informed in different ways. So how would you like me to keep you in the loop with the transaction? And you can tell a lot, again, with that communication. I think any blanketed process that's not customized to people at all serves you, not them. And now it's better than no system and no process, I will give you that, but you are missing the boat on 50% of the people by communicating with them in a standard manner versus how they want. So again, a D is gonna say, only bother me when you need my signature, or if I need to make a decision. And the C is gonna say, email me everything so I can have record of it, right? There's just gonna be different answers to these questions that will help you plot them on your quadrant.
How do you overcome, like, I know some personalities need to talk on the phone, but we like to document everything in writing through text.
Follow it up.
Follow it
and say
up with
per
an email.
our
Yep.
conversation.
Yep, and I tell them, especially if we're doing like, if we're making decisions, always, you wanna have those conversations in person anyway, I think, to educate them on the decision. Then follow it up with an email and just says, per our conversation, I'm about to send you a document that says blah, 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 or I'm about to tell the agent blah, blah, blah. Please confirm with a thumbs up, please confirm, and then it's in paper there. But yeah, that's exactly what I do, is follow up with an email. But again, any substantive conversation you're having has to be had on the phone, has to. We can't talk about negotiations via text, you just can't do it. I need to hear everything that's going through your head so that I can help guide you, or identify potential pitfalls. It's like, tell me what your goal is. This is what you want to do. Okay, that's fine. Tell me where we want to end up so that I can help us get there, because that might not be the best path. I've sold 1,000 homes. You've sold 2. Help me get you here. Tell me what's going on, and we can strategize together. But on a text, it's just like counter at 185. Okay, that doesn't help me, and it doesn't help me communicate with the client, the other seller or the buyer, and it doesn't help me understand what you're trying to do. So I can't do my job. So we have to be on the same team here. So in a phone call, even if it's a D, that's short and to the point, you're gonna be able to pull more information out. When we wanna end up at 190, let's do 185 with 3 in closing, and I'm okay if we have to give up the closing to get to the, okay, now I know. Now I can have the right conversations with the other realtor so that I can kind of price anchor and get us to where we need to be in the negotiation.
Sometimes I feel like a seller can get angry if we don't, like if you're on the phone, you can hear they wanna be more aggressive, and then
Yes.
throughout the rest of the transaction, they're mad because they really wanted to counter more aggressively.
Yep.
And it makes the TRR terrible.
Yes.
And we would have known it if we just would have,
That's exactly right. They say, what do you think I should counter at?
yeah.
I think 300 would be great. Fine, whatever. In their head, they're thinking, we should have done 325. This is stupid. And then when the TRR comes in, they're like, no, I wanted 325. I'm not going to do that. They already gave him 25 grand. It's like, no, you didn't. But I didn't know that. And so, yeah, have to have those conversations. You will catch things in their voice, and they'll be like, okay. And you'll be like, are you sure? Because you don't sound like you want to do it. And we can catch those things. Versus okay on a text says, do it. I had a funny story, but I won't tell it. It'd take too long to set up. I saw it on a TV show last night, but it was funny. Okay, I'll tell it. These two girls, these two roommates were mad at each other, and they were sending passive aggressive texts back. And then they were both complaining to this guy, and the guy was like, I don't get it. And then this guy showed these teenage girls the text, and they were like, wow. And like someone gave a thumbs up, and he was like, it's just a thumbs up. And the teenage girl was like, no, that's like violence. And it was, yeah, it's funny. But it was like they were just being passive aggressive, and the guy was like, what? And they were like, it's terrible. So anyway, texting is not good. Okay. So again, there's ebbs and flows to this. Not everyone is everything all the time. Not everyone is D all the time, I, S, C all the time. And some people are not, 99 I and 0 C. Sometimes they're all in the middle. So sometimes they can look a lot alike too. So the two main things that I think you'll get confused with is D versus C and I versus S sometimes. So again, D and C, both tax oriented, not real relational. Both can seem cold and kind of to the point. Again, not relational. But the way you can tell, D is going to move fast. C wants to slow down and gather information. So just because someone's kind of cold with you doesn't mean they don't like you. It means they're unsure. They don't have all the information to make a decision yet. And then I versus S, both are relational. They want relationships more than information. And so both people-oriented, both warm, both very friendly, both going to be attractive personalities and friendly. The I, the influencer, is going to be faster. And the S is going to be slower and more reserved, right? So speed, pace of movement, and caution is what's going to kind of identify those to you. So again, the D is going to be fast and high-level information. C is slow and detailed. The I is going to be fast and going to talk a lot about themselves maybe, and the S is going to be slow and going to be talk a lot about more the relational versus the outgoing personality. So how you can kind of identify those two. Okay, going back to adaptability. So I think this is important. A lot of people, being adaptable does not mean you're being phony or manipulative or disingenuous. I think that's the biggest thing. It's like, I'm going to be myself. I'm not going to act like this who you want me to act like. Well, I think that's again, I think you have an obligation as a salesperson, as a service provider, to communicate with how they want to be communicated. The guy who wrote the Platinum Rule puts it like this: being able to communicate with all different personality types is like being multilingual. It's like speaking multiple languages. If Brett went to France and spoke French and then came back to America and spoke English, you wouldn't say, wow, Brett's changed. Or, Brett's being so manipulative to the French people. No, I'm communicating with them so they can understand me. That's exactly what we're doing here. I'm communicating with D's so D's understand me. I'm communicating with C's so C's feel comfortable and can make decisions. So it's not about, again, being manipulative or anything like that. You can use these things to manipulate people, for sure, but that's not what we're doing. We're making sure that they can communicate well so that we understand. A couple more. So now we're kind of getting into how do we adjust. So there's 4 dials, 4 levers that you can pull to adjust your communication for the people. You can adjust the pace with which you're speaking. You can adjust the details with which you're giving, the warmth with which you're communicating, or the close. How do we get them to the next step? What do we do to get them to the next step? So you can see they're each on a scale. The pace is fast or slow. Details are high level versus granular. The warmth is task oriented versus personal oriented. And then the close is push close or give space. And I've kind of plotted each one on the scale so you can see where each person kind of exists on the scale. So the D's are on the left side of everything. They are fast, high level, task first. Tell me what to do to close this thing. The I's are fast paced, high level. I don't need too much detail, but I want to feel relationship. I want to feel a relationship, and then over here it's like, okay, I'm kind of in the middle. Push me to close. Tell me what we need to do. I want this to. If I buy this house, will I have fun? Is this going to be fun if I do this? Yes. Okay, then we can go. So you can kind of see where they're plotted. So the idea is, we'll go through each one and kind of talk about how we can influence this person. So when we're talking with the D, the director, the driver, the dominance, what kills a deal is going to be over-explaining it, being late, being excessive with rapport building. We can be friends. I don't want to talk about your weekend though. And bringing more options than we asked for. Give me what I need to make a decision and nothing more, right? That's what's going to kill. So lead with the bottom line, lead with ROI, price, timeline, lead with details. The language you can use is decisive, fast, bottom line, net. That's what they're caring about, the net. You can present 2 or 3 options, not 10. Be confident. Show you've done the work and let them make a decision with what you recommend. This is how you have to treat investors. Traditionally, investors are going to be a little bit more on the D side. So here's 3 properties. Here's the return on each one of them. Which one do we want to buy? This one's best. Okay, we'll write an offer. What do you want to write? I recommend 190. Okay, write 190. That's the conversation you have with the D. You want to be direct, assumptive, no nonsense when you make the close. And so a sample close is, here's the play. You ready to move on it, right? It's like, here's the information. You have it. You ready to go or not? If not, what else do you need? Influencing eyes, socializers. What kills the deal is cold fact presentation. So if we just jump straight into the details, we walk into a listing presentation, I sit down and then open my book up and start talking about the 99-point listing presentation. I'm gonna blah, blah, blah. You've lost them. They don't care anymore. I don't even think I like you anymore now. So ignoring their stories, they want to talk. They want to tell stories. They have to be the most interesting person that you've ever met, ever. They're creating the next story they're going to tell their friends and family. So it needs to be fun, needs to be a good story, needs to be exciting. Fun, fast-paced, it needs to be a personal experience. They are excitable, so excite them, right? That's the idea, get them excited, and they're going to be able to make decisions. So again, rushing past the rapport, very important for eyes. Like Jeff said, I think it's 30 or 40% of people are going to be in the eyes, and so this is the most we need to be able to communicate. Again, some sample clotheslines. Can you see yourself here having Thanksgiving? Where's the Christmas tree going to go? Right? Where would your couch go? It's an experience. We need to experience this process. Influencing the S's. Again, steadiness, relationships. What's going to kill the deal is high pressure, artificial urgency. So that's what we talked about earlier. Like, hey, they got 5 offers. If we don't make an offer right now, we're going to lose it. That'll kill the S, or the relator. They need to be nurtured into this process with everybody. Rushing decisions, talking more than you're listening. We need to build deep relationships here. So slow down, soft, low pressure. When you're ready, here's exactly what the next steps are. A lot of first-time home buyers, whether they're in this or not, need to be treated like S's because they don't know what's next. What happens when I sign this document? What happens when I give them my $3,000 earnest money? What happens if I want to get? What happens if the roof's bad? What happens if? So I need to understand everything, make me feel comfortable before we move forward. And then influencing the C. What kills the deal is vague answers. Missing details. I've had a C before and I sent them some information and it was missing something. I'm toast. I've lost all my, I used to have a manager like this at the bank years ago. We'd send him this presentation, we'd get in a meeting and he'd say, what's this? And I'd explain it. He's like, with this, but he identified it a mistake. And it's like, the meeting's over. We have to go home and fix it now. So missing details, messing something up kills this. You need to rebuild their trust in you and your data. Data is very important. Bring the data, bring comps. They need information. They're missing information to make a decision. So that's, take your time to review this. What additional information will be helpful? That's why I always say anything else you need to see before we make a decision, let them close the book on this. Don't say, I've sent you everything, man. What else do you need? It's like, hey, what else do you need to see to feel comfortable about this decision? Because they have to see every angle and identify everything. I have a friend who was wanting to buy a rental property, and he's a C, and he's doing like 15-year market pro formas and returns and tax implications, and it's just like, dude, we could be at war in 15 years, and you have no idea everything just goes to crap. The 10 hours you spent on the spreadsheet's nothing if we decide to bomb a different country. So I'm the other way, just like, I'm gonna buy the house. So there's no right way. So becoming adaptable. Excuse me. everyone has disc profiles. It's not just about identifying, but then it's about adapting our communication and our style. So if you are a high D, you might repel S's, people who are high relating, right? If you are a high I, you might repel thinkers, the C's. If you are high S, you might repel D's. If you're high C, you might repel I's. So just naturally repel. So if you look at it, you typically repel the catty corner of your quadrant. Because again, one side is fast, slow oriented, or task result oriented and relationship. So if I am fast result oriented, a slow person who wants to get to know me is not going to like me, right? Versus a fast person who wants to get to know me, and someone who's slow and wants a bunch of details and doesn't care about your weekend aren't going to get along, right? Does that make sense? It's the catty corner that you're going to struggle with the most. People on this side are going to both be fast in their activity and their movement. People on this side are both going to be slow and measured in their activity. People up here are both going to be result oriented. People down here are both going to be relational, so they can kind of overlap a little bit, but it's the opposite of you that's going to create friction when you're having communication. So again, I think most people are, it's like 60 something.
80% of the population is a combination of S and I.
Yeah, so most people are here. So if you're up here, you're going to have slightly more friction in your conversation. So the idea, if you're a D, slow down, be more relational, talk more, build rapport more. If you are an I, slow down and pay attention more to the details. Ask more questions about what they need and want. If you're an S, speed up and be more about the details. And if you are a C, speed up and be more relational. So kind of do the opposite of what you are, and you're naturally going to skew that way. So if you're attempting, then you're going to kind of get yourself into the middle maybe a little bit, and you can communicate really well with people. Did you have something?
Yeah, and it was just to add on to it, because I agree with everything you're saying on how you present yourself, but one of the things that's always shocked me is I should repel C's, but for some reason that's the backbone of my business, and it's because I give them permission to be C's. I don't try to make them speak my language, I try to adapt to theirs,
Yeah.
and all they really wanted was permission to be annoying process people.
Yeah.
And if you can just, be that, just give people permission to be themselves around you.
Yeah.
That's like half the battle.
Yeah. There's I don't do this, but if someone did it, I'm sure it would work. But basically calling out and identifying this with your clients. Hey, most people fall into one of four categories. Either tell me the minimum I need to know, tell me everything I need to know, I trust you, or guide me, tell me where you're at. And I want to make sure I communicate with you how you want to be communicated with. That's a very emotionally mature question to ask someone, and someone who is also maybe emotionally mature might be able to introspectively answer that, and then you can communicate well, and then you've called it out, we're all on the same page, and now I asked you, and so if something happened, I can come back and say, hey, maybe I need to give you some more information, maybe I misunderstood something, you can kind of come back and readdress it. But if you can't identify it, start asking real pointed questions to pull that out of them and figure out where they're at. But normally, things that irritate them, things that make them nervous, things that make them scared, you can see these things and you can identify them normally pretty quickly, especially if you're out showing houses. Showing houses is great because you might go see 10, 15 houses with someone. Each time I'm in a house, I'm asking you, I'm poking you, and I'm pulling information out of you each time. By the time we show 3 or 4 houses, I got a pretty good idea of what you're looking for, what's important to you, pitfalls, the risks, fears, all that kind of stuff, because we've had these conversations. But I'm not sitting down and interviewing you. I'm just talking, but I'm pulling the information out of you. So as you become adaptable, understand who is counter to you and what you need to focus a little bit more on. So final thoughts, we're done. Style mismatch is a silent killer. Again, I think I knew about DISC for the last 10 years before I started diving more heavily into it. But I never really understood how I was adjusting personality other than I was, it was a dance. If they push back, I push back. If let me move forward, we move forward. But understanding and identifying what they are allows me to be more pointed in the conversation. So style mismatch, it's why you're not getting listings if you're not getting them. It's why you're getting ghosted with open house and internet leads. because you're not hitting them where they want to be hit. So use the 3 layers to identify how they, again, that slide, how they communicate, what they talk about, and what questions they ask. That's how you're going to identify where they're at in the quadrants. And then adapt your 4 dials as you identify them. Adjust your pace, details, warmth, and how you closing questions you ask. And then the last thing is, this is a practice skill. Everything is a skill deficit. If you're not as good as you want to be at capturing buyers, you're not practicing capturing buyers enough. If you're not good at listing appointments, you're not studying and learning these things to get it better at listing appointments. Everything is a skill deficit. This is a practice skill. So understand that. You're not just bad with people, or someone's not just good with people. They've interacted and they've learned, whether they consciously or subconsciously have been able to identify people and treat them accordingly. This existed long before someone identified DISC, right? People have been able to identify personalities long before the DISC existed. So those exist. It's a learned skill. So if you're bad, it's your fault. That's what I'm saying. So, but there's good news. There is good news. We can make you better. Okay. All right, guys. Have a good day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That's it.
On that note.
Yeah. On that.